prior to the election that you were 64 years old. I mean, wouldn't that have played some role in your decision to leave or stay?
The answer I gave you remains the same. Next question, please.
Much has transpired over the course of the budget debate in Parliament. Your government has been blamed for the country's economic woes, and they pinned a lot of it on you. Is there anything you wish to clarify that arose out of this abuse of the public treasury, things of this nature?
No, I don't wish to clarify anything. My record stands very clear. They can tell as many lies as they like. I shall have my opportunity to speak, and I will speak. And I hope you listen when I speak. Because I have now postponed my retirement until the 31st of August, and I want to be respectful of the rules of the House. The rules of the House says that if a member doesn't come for 3 months, the member will vacate his seat. I'm not a Vincent Pete. I'm not the PLP. And so I will come to respect the rules of the House of Assembly and use the opportunity to say goodbye to the House.
I didn't hear you earlier, but you were saying something about the referendum and the timing of it. But I wanted to ask, do you intend to vote, and what do you intend to vote? The question of legalizing numbers and the second question of establishing a national lottery. I know that you yourself had promised to bring a referendum had your party been reelected.
You know, it is mind-boggling to wrap your head around a referendum that's going to be to decide whether or not gaming can take place by the illegal number operations in the Bahamas, and whether you should have a national lottery. But the Bahamians will not have an opportunity to determine whether or not they can gamble in the casino. Right. If you're going to put the question of gambling to the public of the Bahamas, then the whole question must be put. You must bear in mind that we are singular in our decision in the Bahamas that excludes its citizens from being able to gamble in the casino. Nobody else in the world does that. That's because of our own peculiar history. In 1965, when the decision was made, it was also determined that Bahamians could not be croupiers in the casino. That you had to be from the Western Europe. You had to be Italian or one of them to be a casino croupier in the Bahamas. No Bahamian was a croupier in the Bahamas. In fact, at the time of independence in 1973, the then Prime Minister said at the press conference that as long as he was Prime Minister, there would never be a Bahamian croupier in the casinos in the Bahamas, because that was the established policy. They changed their mind over time. The public of the Bahamas ought to have a right to decide whether they want to gamble in the casino or not. Secondly, I don't know why it should be assumed that we should spend all this money on a referendum to deal with the question of gambling when there are some issues. Like, for instance, I want you, as a female in this country, to have the same rights I have under the Constitution. There are many other important issues in the Bahamas. And so I would like for, and when I last had a referendum, the argument was the public was not educated. But I don't see anything happening about educating the public about the referendum. And so I'd like to postpone it as much as I could so the public can be educated. Because you can't put it forward and then say your hands are clean. So you can't make a deal with the number fellas before the election, get their money, and then call upon me to support you or to vote for it. So you ask me the question whether I'm going to vote or not. I wouldn't waste my time on such a referendum. I would not waste my time on it.
15 years, obviously, and you promised
No, I said in 2010, when the church leaders were making noise, I said that we cannot. I said we would have a referendum. I didn't say specifically what it would conclude, but I would not have had a referendum that did not include the casino.
Right.
That would be unthinkable.
Is there a difference then between a constitutional referendum and a popular referendum? Is that what I'm saying?
I assume so.
One don't require a change of the Constitution?
Oh, this one doesn't require a change of the Constitution. This only helps the government decide what it wants to do. This only helps the number of fellas get what they pay it for. They pay it big.
You're saying you don't need a referendum?
No. But it's a divisive issue. And so it is a legitimate question for the government to want to put to the public of the Bahamas. But it should be a question about gambling, about gaming, not limited to a national lottery and whether or not Flowers and Lucky, whatever the Lucky Five or whatever they are, can have these things. And Issues Row and all them, etc.